Welcome, Boundary Breakers. Today, we are diving into an extraordinary conversation with a woman who embodies the art of living beyond labels. Meet Sayantika Banik, a technologist, nomad, dive master, and artist who dances effortlessly between logic and intuition, code and canvas, data and deep human connection. Sayantika wears multiple hats, crafting a life that defies linear paths and societal scripts. Whether she's designing software solutions, exploring ocean depths, collaborating with global communities, or sketching abstract reflections of her journeys, she thrives in the fluidity of the unknown. Her mantra: life isn't a straight line, it's an ever evolving design, and I'm here to carve, question, and create my blueprint. In this episode, we will explore what it means to calibrate your inner compass in a world that demands certainty, how to embrace the beauty of nomading through identities, and why sitting with discomfort is the ultimate superpower. We'll tackle questions like how do we navigate uncertainty without losing ourselves? What is this inner compass and how do we trust it? And why is aligning with nature's rhythms, not fighting against them, key to sustainable success? If you've ever felt torn between roles, dared to question the shoulds, or longed to craft that life that's authentically yours, this conversation is your invitation to rise. Welcome, Sayantika. I am super stoked to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm stoked. It's my first podcast ever. I'm super
Mhm.
excited, nervous, and all in betweens. I'm very excited to dive in, have an amazing conversation today.
Yeah, it is said that nervousness and anxiety and excitement basically is the same thing. It only depends on how you look at it and how you just trust yourself and your inner compass. And I'm so happy to have you here because you are also a younger generation. And when we had a conversation to prepare for this podcast, I told you that I was really impressed by your maturity and your vision on life. And I absolutely wanted to bring that once again as a source of information, inspiration, and encouragement for so many women that are living a life that is not actually theirs, that are just into this sometimes rat race, but into these patterns, into these habits that they don't question. And so when we start to question our lives and our choices and our decisions, sometimes it's very confrontational. And it's also sometimes very challenging to change that, to really use our inner compass and not all these external compasses to make our life decisions. So tell me a little bit about how did your journey really start?
It started with questioning. That was the tipping point when there was a discomfort inside. There is no
Hmm.
path, exact template to navigate that discomfort with. And then you dive into a questionable by the society, but it's very grounding inside. And then it's either up or sometimes down. It's never steady. It goes like pendulum. And how I begin with, had an education, good background, different interest, a deep sense about living life to the fullest, exploring different facets, and also understanding them, connecting with humans with conversation that really matters and not just on the surface. All this coming together, I was exploring myself and asking this question: who I want to be. Is it something that the templates define me, or is it something that I can create my template? Honestly, that's excruciating to go just against all of those rules, and you start to become exhausted time to time and think like, have I taken the ordinary path, it would have been easier for me and I would have less to think about, maybe less to struggle with. But then there's another path, that's your inner compass, who's trying to navigate you to the right one. And until it does, it will keep moving. And that's how I define myself. Like, I'm also moving, exploring, until I find the right direction, and then you follow it and you follow the north. You go till
Yeah.
that you find your path.
Yeah. I like that. A lot of us, when we feel this discomfort that you're talking about, we try to silence it, right? We try to silence it by working harder, or by going shopping, or watching Netflix, or making beautiful, go travel and meet other people. But we try to silence that discomfort by doing things that like everybody does, by reflecting, by really going back to your inner wisdom and your inner strengths and exploring those, even if you do not know where you will end. It's a completely different journey, right? Didn't you ever had this tendency to go to these silencing processes or these coping mechanisms, if you want to call them like that? Did you even ever feel that urge? And how did you stay away from them?
I wouldn't say I stayed away from them. I definitely, time to time, delved into them, like going ahead and just letting my heart out, partying maybe some days, doing all the coping mechanism, which honestly there are a lot of them, but also falling back when I used came to the silence of my own comfort, I reflect and then I see, did that really help? Sure, for a short burst of moments, it helps. It lets you forget the pain, the struggles, and everything. But what really matters is reflecting back and coming again to your safe zone, which is inside. It's hard. It's an ongoing process for me as well, and I'm trying to find different ways of doing it. Diving was one that opened up a very healthy way of coping, honestly, because I'm a sensory seeker and I seek motion as one of my senses. I seek the granularity of the ocean, the waves, the ripples when you go beyond that. And that helped me like ground a lot. I saw myself as a tiny speck among the vast blue. And that jogged a lot of thoughts. This is life. It's beyond me, beyond my little comprehension, beyond my tiny brain, even though the struggles and all the other things that comes beyond that, there's something to look out from you, look out amongst others.
That so resonates to me, Sayantika, because I guess we are not all able to go on diving expeditions or to become a diving master like you are. But what you are saying is that in this vastness of the ocean, that you felt yourself in a different proportion in relationship to that vastness. And I really recognize that. I live in the south of Spain on the top of a mountain. And from the first days I was here, I had this feeling of blending in an, a vastness and an abundance of the universe. Because a lot of us, we are so used to live and think in cubicles, right? We are in cubicles in our meeting rooms or in our offices. A lot of us are in cubicles in our apartments. We're in cubicles in our cars. And so we also start to think in cubicles. And it's like we are boxing ourselves in so many ways. And when I am here, or since I am here, and also when I bring friends and family and especially clients here, you get to a different proportion and you understand that you are part of something big, and your problems are not the most important problems of the world, and your deadlines are not the only deadlines in life, and you can like completely recalibrate your being. Does that make sense? Is that also what you experienced in the ocean?
Absolutely. The speck of my existence, if I could tell, just felt like this. And then there is ocean, then there is the universe, and there are many universe out there. And I calibrate my issues and my problems right here. And like everyone is shining some light, and how do I balance them together in one single thread that I source
Mm.
the energies, live by my values, and continue to thrive on them.
Yeah. You also mentioned some metaphors. You were talking about the pendulum, and then there's the roller coaster. It's not linear, and it's like a journey. It's not like an everyday challenge. It's an everyday journey, and one day is not the other. And some days we feel completely at our place in that being, and sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to just be. So, what is it that helps you to recalibrate? If there's a different day or a different period, you already mentioned the ocean, of course, but it's not always possible to go for a diving expedition when things are tough or challenging. So, what else is it that you use in order to access that inner wisdom and just be where you are?
I really dive into art, and hence that's one of my coping mechanisms as well, letting my inner thoughts, feelings, emotion by the feel of paint, by the feel of that paper, that touch, the essence. Love dancing. And if anybody around me could tell, if I have a not a great day and I want to let it out, I will be dancing on my own or in a group. The world around me vanishes, and it's just me, my thoughts coming together, and we dance together. It's that motion, the symphony that gets me around. Other parts which helps is really looking at my own journey and being kind to myself on those days. And a friend of mine is really wise, and he told me that it's not about keep going at it again and again, like forcing through it. You have to let it cool, see if we are using the right tool, and then
Mhm.
figure out how to hit it harder, because you want to achieve your goals. You are ambitious in some ways, but you're not using the right set of tools. Build your toolkit, reanalyze what's happening, and that really requires the boiling water to settle down, see the stillness, and see what's happening in there, giving yourself time and kindness.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your journey in terms of, because you started also in a very tech position and you combine that with dance, with art. Tell us a little bit more about how that just went, because we are now talking about like concepts and principles, but just like some stories, some anecdotes that you would like to share in that journey, what would that be?
Tech is when I started. It was just me, ordinary. I'm still an ordinary, I call myself definitely an ordinary, but trying to think extraordinary. Tech was another medium for me to help build something valuable for myself. Did my degree in computer science, moved into business analytics and management, then into entrepreneurship since then. All these things coming together for me to explore what exactly I want. Worked as a data scientist in startups and organizations. Understood, yes, there's a value creation in that aspect. And but I was stuck in the rabbit hole of, after some time, not doing exactly the value driven work, but what's been asked, and that is mostly for the capitalistic reason. That's completely fine, but not something that I was really hoping and seeking out of my own positive mindset and life in general. Then I had side business of running my own show. So App Store was my small business that I started. Used to go on flea markets, used to start into multiple small and medium like concerts. So I'm like, yes, my art really makes others happy and it's really creating value. So I did that couple of years, and then figured out, uh, I do really want to explore a little more and beyond. Traveling was one of my fondest things that I wanted, and always used to do in minimal capacities when I could. With a day job, it wasn't very feasible to do that. And once I left everything behind and started my nomading journey, there was no looking back. And I love to share this quote because it's everywhere around me, is the taste of freedom makes you unemployable. And that's it. That was the journey, that was the stop, the period for me to going back to my cubicle or going back to my room and working from there. It was always up in the mountain, up in the ocean, seeing what life has to offer. And this, in the whole process, I kept questioning myself, do you really want to leave that amazing, paying, steady paycheck job and then do something which is absolutely uncertain? Don't know where it's going to take you. Will it take you somewhere or not? All those questions keeps bubbling up and still bubbles up. It's not gonna be completely silenced ever. But then I found ways to cope with it, tell myself like what my soul desired is going above and beyond. And then I left everything, settled in an island, trained for my dive master. Felt amazing, excruciating with like physically coming from a desk job and kind of transitioning in all these things was a different experience altogether. Working with like indigenous communities out there really sparked joy and curiosity in me, and everything started to make sense again. Yes, there is a reason that you really chose this path, and because it makes you happy. Is it a good reason? Yes. Can I accept
Yeah.
that reason? Yes.
Why is it a good reason? Is it a reason that is completely aligned with your inner compass?
Yes.
Yeah. And so what about this inner compass? I have developed a program that is called the Life Fulfillment Compass, and that is basically giving you the different dimensions in order to calibrate them and make decisions and make choices that are really aligned with who you really are. And I'm talking identity, I'm talking belief system, I'm talking values. And so for a lot of people, it's so difficult to grasp that concept of inner compass because there's so many other compasses. There's the media and there's social media. That's what your parents say with very good intentions, or it's what friends say, or it's what society in general is expecting from you. These are all these external compasses that can yell very loud, right? So this inner compass, how do you define that? What exactly is it for you?
I honestly I discovered it recently, like the term, the inner, but how I defined it is energy, is the energy that resides inside you. Each one of us has it, but it gets surrounded by noise. It gets overlooked because of expectations, because of our own changing beliefs, our pivots, our own emotions, and also the external factors. And once this gets covered, like more and more solidified, this energy is not able to come out. It's like it's
Mm,
getting small, shrinking inside you. And after some time, there's no energy even left outside you to let the insides out. And that's
mm,
when it comes, I'm going to give up because I don't have the energy anymore to go towards it, towards what I felt. And that's a tiny flame inside, and you have to guard it from the winds, from the
mm,
offshores, from the cold, from everything. And that shield is what we build our entire life on, that stronger and better shields around us. Time to time, yes, the flame suffers. It flames up, it dims, and that's okay. Nothing
mm,
is linear, as I feel, as it's ups and downs, and hence when I see life, I see a if in between. And I always quote it with double quotes. If life has an uncertain if, then there is no certainty in any other ways that we want to function. There's always going to be variables around us. It's how we understand those variables and see which we want to change time to time. If we change all of them at once, yeah, things are going to be a little troubling. It's going to be harder to navigate. But once we
mm,
understand the strategies of changing those variables, two at a time, one at a time, understanding what the impact looks like, and then we start navigating the equation of life. That's my logical side telling me life is an equation, and my side telling me life is about being happy. So, how I combine happiness with equations together and trying to understand it every single time, every single day.
Mm. Yeah. What I like about this concept of energy that is covered with so many layers that have been, or that we allowed also to be put on it, is that what you are saying is that we all have this energy. It's just that we lost our access to it, or we don't find our way to this energy because it's so covered. And so it means that we can uncover it and that we can find our different ways or mechanisms or systems or whatever you want to call it to uncover that energy and just feel the power of that and just feel how that can really fire us in order to do what we want to do. And then there's another thing that you said, and that is that discomfort is the ultimate superpower. So, how do you relate that to that?
If the flame is not struggling, you don't know whether there is something to strive for. If everything
Mm,
is constant around us, it's still, how do you understand what's your calling and what's not? So discomfort is a signal, is a tool, a calling to navigate your path through. And it has a different meaning in English, but if we translate into the channel of life, it's your North Star. It's where you go. It's where the discomfort is telling you there is something not pretty much gelling at this moment. Something is not right. It can be your relationships, it can be your professional life, it can be anything that really you are invested in, and our systems, our gut. Though I'm in the field of data, I really hear my gut a lot, very much trying to understand my energies. If around someone or in some situation I'm agitated, I'm anxious, I know there is something that's not aligning. There's a discomfort there. And that's a signal for me that there's something that needs to be changed or communicated or talked about. And the medium that I want to express that might change from time to time as well. Sometimes it could be just communication. Sometimes there needs to be an action. And sometimes it just requires you to get yourself off the gas pedal and take a chill, take a break,
mm.
and say, where's the discomfort like looking like? Which area, which place, which is it inside you, outside you? What didn't align in that place?
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, that discomfort, it's like with our energy, sometimes we try to cover that discomfort because we do not want to experience it, because we're like afraid for if we dig deeper into that, what we might find and what we might have to change or what we might have to remove or maybe accept. The thing is that, as I already mentioned, we try to escape in all these other more superficial coping mechanisms. And understanding that this discomfort is a very important sign or signal or barometer or whatever you want to call it, that something is not right in your being, that it's important to look at that. If we can find that courage, then we can, you say, go deeper and see what needs to be done or said or stopped doing. In order to understand that discomfort, what would you advise to the people watching this or listening here in order to be more familiar and friendly with that discomfort, in order not to experience that something that you have to push away? What is it that you do for
And
that or you
first, I
learned?
would really like very well put there, like not having to experience the discomfort is like the first coping mechanism. And that's the go-to. To want to experience something different, uncertain, which is not in the catalog, not in the template. I don't want to experience that. And that's very well put that not having to experience or being avoidant to that is one of the steps back, not forward in that
Mm,
scenario. And how exactly can we help navigate discomfort? I wouldn't say there's only a couple of coping mechanisms or something that really would help. It's ongoing, it's always in the process, it's always a feedback loop to yourself. But I believe the first starting point is acceptance. accepting
Mm,
that it is a discomfort, it is a signal coming from you. And once we have discovered that part, it is 80% of the work is done. That is the discovery part. And the rest of the 20% is either how to fix it or what is the takeaway from this. Sometimes there is not a definite fix. There are lack of resources or time, there is constraint and everything around different variables. But once that starts calibrating slowly inside us, and then we see a pattern, quickly, that's a red flag. Move away.
mm.
Why did I do
Yeah.
that? Because I had a heuristic from this moment in time. And I said to myself that once I experience it again, or I feel this moment or feeling or emotion or discomfort, I'm going to talk to myself and say, hey, Saya, you did talk to yourself a couple of years back and said that you are going to make a different decision once you fall into this trap again. This is the time you do that. And that memory and heuristic, when it gets built into my system, it keeps replays, like a replay coming at the right moment. And our subconscious mind is brilliant in that terms. When we manifest and feed information into that, it really triggers and tags it at the moments when it has to come out. And that's the beauty
Mm.
of the subconscious mind.
Absolutely. I also like that you say we don't have to fix it by definition. Our life is not perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. You mentioned somewhere that imperfectionism is freedom because then you can get unstuck again from a lot of rules that we put on ourselves or that others put on ourselves. And another thing that also resonated when we were talking before that was that alignment with nature, with nature's rhythms, alignment with nature's rhythms. That is something that we also not do. And it can be with the seasons, it can be with moon cycles, it can be with a lot of other things that are evolving and changing or are being regenerated in nature. A lot of us lose touch with nature, so we cannot align with it because it's gone, or we can only read about it. So, why for you is it so important to have that alignment? And what is it that we can do to find it?
Nature, when I just think about it, the motion, the waves, the colors, the seasons. And season is something that I closely resonate with, which is naturally we are losing it, the global warming and everything else, but philosophically and in life, how we can relate nature, the seasons that it comes, and our life. There are seasons meant for a reason. The winters, which are strong, which is like cold, dark. It's time we recoup, understand, prepare before, and then go inside and sit with our minds for the spring to come back, the joy, the light. And then we move to the next, which is rain, which is important. We need water. We need to understand that's how nature works. Then comes the next season, and then the cycle repeats. Most of the time, even now that I want to also calibrate that aspect with me and not doing it very well either, is not to push it too hard at times when things are going and you can see it that it's just leveling down. It's time, it's winters. You sharpen your blades now so that you can go to the ocean, put that net, and then come back, or sail there, put your sailboat there, and then sail further and higher. If the storms and the waves are too high, you're just going to waste a lot of energy in that process and not able to cut through the storm, but just being stuck at it. So going with the rhythm of the nature really helps fine tune your mind, your body, the way you function, the behavioral aspect. And in general, I find a lot of peace in there. There is no differences when it comes to being with nature, treats everyone the
Mm.
same.
Yeah.
If one leaf falls and I see a different leaf falling, a twig falling, everything looks gorgeous on the nature's bed. And we don't see differences in there. We see colors, we see beauty, we see the gushing air coming through. Everything feels at zen, at peace. Nobody is questioning you or your decisions or your understanding, but it's giving you the space to listen to yourself. The stillness inside you comes, the flame inside you now is able to flourish because the voices which is guarding around it is coming down. And that's the power of nature.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it is a big challenge for a lot of high achieving women when we talk about corporate life, when we talk about entrepreneurial life. It's very tempting to be always turned on because now is the moment, or now is that deadline, or now is that client there asking. And so basically, we don't allow ourselves to be in that cycle if it's completely aligned with nature or not. But especially as women, we have phases in also even in the month where we are more productive, and others where we are just needing to take it a little bit slower. But if you are again in the expectations of life, especially of the professional life, sometimes it's so hard to do that. And so we can be extremely harsh on ourselves by just pushing until the moment of depleting. And so I absolutely like your invitation to be more focused on these cycles and more focused also on what it is that you need and the energy that you have to give that day or that week or that month in order to use it as, again, a source, like you say, a source of strength to emerge again. We try to be at that high level all the time, and actually there's no other being in the on earth that is doing that. If you look at birds, if
Absolutely.
you look at bears, if you look at, wildlife in general, there's no other animal that is like performing 100% all the time of the year. And yet we are doing that once again because the system is expecting it from us. And so this is a very important thing there to understand and to again find a way to do that for yourself without, of course, letting go of what needs to be done. But this need to be done can be redefined, and it's so often not defined by us. It is about also
Yes.
having the conversation with stakeholders about how to reset things and how to reframe things in a way that is sustainable, because that's also the reason why so many people drop out in corporate life and in entrepreneurial life, because they are completely depleted, because they do not understand or see this concept, or they're not in the possibility to change it, right?
Absolutely. And then the role of templates come into alignment. The
Mm,
world revolves around them, and this way of functioning with the seasons is not part of that. Most of the places, I would say, like I said, with different board of directors or in different meetings. And honestly, this conversation comes time to time. Like we have to do this 10 things between this deadline, no matter what are the consequences.
mm. Yeah.
Definitely, this conversation comes on and off on different levels. And what is the different ways that we can not deflect the conversation, but I have tried this approach, and to some extent it really worked, because when working with the data and working as with my analytical mindset comes into play, hey, there are days, there are places that we can put maximum effort, and hence this is the resource intensive way of doing it. But then if we distribute, work together, and also work along with the seasons, this is what the impact looks like, and we have seen it before. Does it make better sense, both in terms of efficiency, both in terms of building the morale of your team, of the people that you work with? And once it's psychological, once you have motivation, once you are respected and felt valued, you perform. And performance is not driven by the metrics of just task oriented ones, taking the task. It's also thinking beyond the limitations, thinking in critical situations where the normal templates won't work. And hence, I see a lot of high performing individuals in critical thinking roles where they outperform because that's the place where there are no boundaries, where they define themselves in terms of the variables of the situation, and you thrive. So, also finding the areas where you can thrive and actively saying no to the places where you're going to just drain your energies. There is no active listening component involved. There's always give. Sure, finance and money is a good motivation. And of course, is one of the primal motivation of having a day job, of doing the work that we do. But also fine tuning those environment places because there's always an opportunity to make it your own desk. I am given a fresh desk that I bought from the market. And now I want to make it my own. I want to put some flowers. I want to have a nice flooring. I want to put a nice pen stand in there, which I really like, and have space for my all other technical or books and equipment in there. We all have somewhere that opportunity to dive into and make the workplace, which is not painful to go into and dreading the next morning that I have to go to that meeting today and there are 10 different meetings coming up and I don't like any of them. Why am I doing it? Can I put in a different way? Is a scenario that I'm thinking in my head, can I drop it in there and see what happens? That takes a lot of courage because again, the different scenarios, the outcomes, the permutations and combination that runs inside my mind and I believe in other individual mind as well. Yes, but can we take that chance for once and see if that works out? Then you have the courage, and now your subconscious mind knows that next time I'm going to ask this question if I don't feel comfortable, and the outcome might be different. And that's a beautiful feeling as well to just think that the outcome could be different than the outcome is always in our head. That is not very positive in most cases.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Saya, what is your next boundary that you would like to break? If you look at where you are right now, do you see other boundaries where you say, I need to push those a little bit, or I want to break that one?
Boundaries of my own mind. So this podcast is honestly the first step. I have never probably in the past given myself the opportunity to just say that, yes, there is something, a story, and your thought that really matters. And this is one step towards that, like coming with you and having this conversation is a step for me ahead. And it's a very big step, honestly.
Mm.
Shy most of the time, I keep my thoughts to myself. I love one on one conversation, but does it really matter? Does my thoughts really matter? Is why? And the criticism, that is one thing that I'm also trying to overcome a lot. The criticism of not having to have this feeling I have to stick with one identity. I am a maker of different identities. I am caring. I can be bossy. I can be both at the same time. And I want to push that boundary a little more where just one identity doesn't define me. It's by the seasons. I function by that. And I want to put it more strongly going forward, both in my professional life, personal life, and really being with my value system, closely hugging it. Now I have
Yeah.
realized it. I love it. But now I have to care for it, nurture it, balance it, and always like feedback loop. It never ends. Once we stop exploring this energy, the curiosity, the feeling of being, I feel that's end. But I want to understand more about it, think
Mm.
about it, and also find ways that I can also give this back to the other women, other people out there who might be having similar thoughts, but just need a little motivation inside to break through that canvas. And then the energy comes out and the flame ignites again.
Yeah, exactly. Congratulations, Saya, anyway, for your first breaking boundaries in showing up and putting yourself out there. And I hope that you break a lot of boundaries in that area. It is so important. This is also what I do with my women leaders, with my clients. It is to support them to find their voice, to speak their truth, and also build a platform to do that. Because if you find your voice and you speak your truth in the bathroom, that's as such a very nice thing to do, but you're not really serving other women that might be extremely impacted by your views, or that might shift only one thing that makes such a difference for them in how they look at life and how they look at who they can become. And so it's extremely important to do that. And I know that it's always, and especially the first times, it's like this discomfort again. And I guess somehow we all have this discomfort in a kind of way every time that we put ourselves out there, because again, judgment is such a harsh thing to deal with, and we want it to be perfect and we want it to be extremely relevant, but it is relevant. And thank you so much for being here and for showing up and for sharing your amazing views and wisdom with us. And I'm sure that there's a lot of nudges that we can find. For everybody watching this or listening to this, I would advise you to listen again, because there are so many layers in this conversation. I had a lot of conversations in my life. And so when I say this, I'm very serious. There's a lot of layers in this conversation that you might need to revisit. I hope that you found some wisdom and some truths and some inner compass elements to shift the way that you look at things, to shift the way that you make decisions, and you know that you're not alone, because Saya was here with her testimony, and there are every week I bring women to this platform that share how things can be different if you just unlock certain things that are stuck or locked. And as I said, you're not alone and you don't have to do this alone. So look for support, look for sponsorship. There's coaches, there's mentors. If you want to find out more about how we can work together on that, feel free to contact me. Also follow Saya in her expedition of life, of ocean, of indigenous people. There's a lot of adventure to follow there as well. Let's stay connected. Saya, thank you so much. It was great having you here. And I'm honored that this was the first time that you are on a podcast, that it was with me. Thank you so much.
Thanks again.